James is writing my other one for me.
Are they ones that are on in my house?
Maybe I can get it one of them.
Okay. Or shoot me in.
Okay.
I know a lot of people got to rush in front
And that's, and there's a different difference because I was reading it.
So are we gonna say, okay, well, they asking them, they go.
All right, we're gonna go ahead and call this meeting to order.
And if you wish to, please join me in a short prayer. Heavenly Father, please help us to get us through all the things on our plates today. Forgive us for self-reliance and for leaving you out in haste to get things done. In quiet times, we see your face and we feel your holy presence, but in busy times, we tend to run aimlessly away from your help. Send us your calming spirit, slow us down to see your face and to feel your hand upon our shoulders. Let us tackle this day together. Amen.
Amen.
And pledge to our flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a reminder, everybody turn your microphones on. We are utilizing our YouTube live for this. You can archive our meetings. Thank you, Rick, for coming in an hour early to help work all that out.
It's a 5-minute deal, but it takes me an hour.
Who would have ever known you'd be our tech guru?
Yeah, no kidding. Least tech.
Before we call Nikki up for her request at 9 o'clock, I respectfully ask if we could just have a moment of silence for Commissioner Ken Sheldon's family. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. There you go.
Morning.
Good morning.
I'm officially here to ask for appropriations in the 8895 fund for new computers for the child support staff. Just as a reminder, that's a fund that can only be used for child support needs.
So the request is for 6 new computers, $10,699.50.
Correct. And we're a little backwards with this because when they came back from child support conference, one of their computers died completely. They're using a backup laptop. And so Tammy said it's time for them to get new computers this year anyway. Let's just do a quote. When we did the quote, or when Tammy did the quote, we found that if we didn't get approval to purchase those right away, they probably wouldn't be available once we got through commissioner and council meetings. So we've already been to the commissioners. They gave us permission to purchase them. They are purchased. And I'm just officially asking for the appropriation to be out of the 8895 fund, which is where we always purchase the computers.
They included the cash balance in that.
Yes, I looked at the current balance because I figured you had asked me that, $184,743.18.
Motion.
I'm ready for motion.
Make the motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please write in.
Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron?
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hey, Aaron. Yes. Will you double check that mic? Is it on?
Oh, like what?
No, I turned it on.
Oh, okay. Nikki must have just been quiet.
I don't know, can you hear it?
Yeah, I can hear it.
A little.
Can you?
Yeah.
Just a little.
Oh, no.
There we go.
I can hear more.
You guys hear?
Yeah.
I don't want to be too loud though. Okay.
What's that? Sorry.
And so I'm back in front of you today about the amendment to 4.14. This is that EMS write-off policy. As we've all had in discussions, there's different ways that this can be structured. Up to you guys on if we're going to pass this or we need to reword it.
So it's ordinance number 1019. And this is our third reading today. Anybody has any further questions or things they need answered, otherwise I welcome a motion.
Move the motion.
Bill?
I'll second.
Any further comments or questions?
I would just like to say, in an effort to keep it equitable for everybody that's employed by the county, since it is a benefit to everyone, whether it benefits them to help them meet their deductible or not meet their deductible or whatever it is, it's something that is kind of a unique situation because we are self-employed here, or self-insured, that it's just across the board a benefit for everyone, and we do value our employees. They're an asset to our county.
So. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Opposed, same. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. I will make that change to the handbook and make sure Wagner Urban and Shealy is aware on that as well. The second thing that I am on the agenda for, last budget time, we talked about the possibility for performance-based pay, what things would look like, different programs that would be put in place with budget time quickly approaching us. I would like to have some guidance on what you guys are looking at. I can have different programs laid out for you. Right now, we do not have every single department doing performance evaluations. I've talked to several different counties to see what their programs look like. I think you have that information in front of you today. What some best practices are across the board. Some other anonymous comments from people that I've talked to. If performance-based pay is something that the council and commissioners want to look into, I would recommend moving into this kind of in a slow step fashion. One way that we could possibly implement this would be something be sent out from the commissioners and county council, since this has kind of been a joint effort sort of thing. Requests that those department heads and elected officials start rolling out those performance evaluations. Should I get those done by the end of the year? And then for next year, make sure that they're aware that they need to be done before budget time next year, or else perhaps their departments would not be eligible for any sort of increase in pay. Put a little bit more teeth into it. And then from there, figure out what we want to do based on how those performance evaluations are coming through. You know, are we getting a fair assessment across the board? You know, if I get 5 stars from every single department for every single employee, we know that things are not being fairly assessed across the board. So just kind of get that feel on how things are. You know, we had HPG come in, talk to those managers and try to get some knowledge there. And we've talked about potential of the certified public managers class, you know, sending a few of them potentially as well. So yeah, there's a lot of things coming down the pipes, especially with the big project we have with the job description update, the category review, and the wage analysis for this year. Trying to roll something out really quickly with performance-based pay, with all that coming down the pipes too, might be a lot to deal with at first, but I'm just kind of looking for some guidance. So I am well prepared for budget hearings, and I can give you what you need and what you want.
and I don't want to speak for the rest of council, but like my general thoughts for just myself personally, where you've got a lot on your plate with trying to get through all the Wagner, Irwin, and Sheila and stuff. And I like the idea of walking into this and not running into it. So for purposes of our budget this year, you know, I don't know that much is needing to change, because step one would be just getting the evaluations to be a normal thing and getting them on the cycle next year. So we might not be taking up the discussion with commissioners of, you know, how that impacts their pay until we get that ironed out and make sure that that's flowing as well. I think it would be rushing to try to fit it into our budget this year.
Right, and I am going to the commissioners at their next meeting as well to talk to them, because I think there's question on who makes that decision for performance-based pay. Is it the commissioners, is it the council? Right now, it's been kind of like a joint venture sort of thing. So I wanted to discuss this with both boards, make sure everybody's on the same page. And
in my mind, it would come from the commissioners, and it's our responsibility to find out how to fund it at that point.
I do agree with you about just getting the department heads in the mindset of evaluating and getting that ball rolling, because department heads, if they see it on paper, might go, hey, you know what? I didn't realize that. And I think that's step one. I do like the one comment on here that, you know, even if council says to give a 5% raise, the department head actually we might be able to give them leeway to say, okay, you can have up to 5% for your employees. You know, you decide. I thought that was a pretty good comment there.
yes,
Do we actually have an ordinance on how we're supposed to do it?
it is purely up to the county council. Like if they want to give 5% or whatever it may be.
Yeah, no, I had asked at AIC, I talked to a woman from State Board of Accounts about pay increases and what we were allowed to do and what we weren't allowed to do. And she very much said that that is our lane. That's where we belong, and that unless there's an ordinance, you know, she told me come back and ask if there was some kind of ordinance.
So it's no secret, it's something that I've really been excited about. And I would also like to agree with Dan that I think that this would be a messy process if you try to push it through right now. I think it needs to be strategic. So I think doing a slow rollout for next year, giving people a chance to look them over, recognizing, but I really need to say this, and it's a struggle sometimes, because I realize that we're dealing with elected officials as well, running departments. Wouldn't you really want your department staff to know you're paying attention and that you care about them? Isn't that really what this is all about, is creating an environment where people know that you actually care and are paying attention? And it's never wanting to grab a hammer. It's always wanting to encourage. But I can tell you, with being in management for most of my adult life, that when people don't think you're paying attention, why do they care, right? Their buy-in's less, right? And I think there's a lot of us that have been self-employed or been in management and recognize that this isn't about taking a hammer to somebody. It's about saying, hey, listen, we recognize there's an opportunity here. How can we get this fixed? Because we want you to be the greatest you can be and get the best benefit and pay you can. So this isn't about pushing the elected officials into a corner, right? This is about creating an environment where people can be successful, be excited about their job. And too many times it's like, well, it's a government job, you can't do that. Well, guess what? There are a lot of department heads already doing those evaluations because either it's state mandated or whatever the reason is. So I just want to encourage people to recognize that this isn't about a hammer. This is about recognizing your staff and making them feel appreciated. So here you go, my soapbox.
Well said.
Yeah, it's very well said.
Our goals for this are just that. Have everybody appreciate their job more, but feel appreciated in their job.
100%.
okay, well, I will talk to the commissioners at their next meeting as well, just make sure they're all on the same page. And I have some fantastic forms as well that I can give department heads and elected officials, sorry, to utilize in their departments as well. There are some departments that don't necessarily, it doesn't follow their flow, but we can work on some of those forms as well and make them work for the department.
Thank you for this.
Appreciate this, yeah.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to reviewing that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Aaron.
Tammy, before you start, Chip's here. He's not on the agenda, but I had requested if he was willing to give us an update on a couple things. So thank you, Chip. Looking to see if you can update us on the technical assistance safety plan.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to schedule a public involvement hearing. They were finalizing their dates on their end, but it's around August 5th. Probably is going to be in the evening. The point of that is to engage the public in things we've talked about, plus engage the public in the plan that we're drafting to qualify for both a local road safety plan, which is what Indiana calls them, but there's also a safe routes for all plan, which is what the federal government calls it. Tying a plan together that does that. It's also our local transportation plan, our long range transportation plan. It's all the same thing. It's all the same road. It's all talking about the same items. So we are hoping to have that hearing early August. And once we get that hearing done, then we can finalize the plan and we'll be coming to the commissioners and the council for adoption or a formal resolution that we're adopting the plan. That's how I will be putting together grants and local road program projects going forward.
Okay, thank you. And update on how the 200 North project is going.
200 North is moving right along. The road has been milled out. They're doing some final grading. We're getting in preparation for when subcontractors come in and do soil stabilization portion of the project. That project's moving around pretty good.
On schedule for November then, so. There's been a lot of suggestions for workarounds of traffic flow, but you know, we made it through last week, so that was our peak, right?
It's all downhill.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Anybody else have anything they're needing an update from highway on? Thank you for that. Oh, sorry.
You want to say something? Hopefully, everybody saw that article in the paper about 141,000 people last year. That's a pretty incredible number. And I just want to make sure that we recognize the fact that it's an uphill battle with the ebbs and flows and the budget from the state level, not getting what we believe to be proper funding to help sustain what it is we're trying to get accomplished to maintain these roads that are recognized as 35,000 a year residents. So, yep. Thank you for all you do.
And just want to thank you that the meeting we had out there at the event center, that 4-hour long meeting, and I thought, oh my gosh, all right, I'm going, we're going to listen to the highway. I walked away from that really amazed how every decision that our county highway department makes is number one based on the safety of the people in this county. Not how bumpy is my road and how's the ride on my butt. It's on the safety. And I just was really impressed by that whole entire meeting. I learned a lot.
So much.
Every aspect of what we do as a maintenance department is safety. Removing the dang animal from the road keeps people from swerving on the pothole. Yes, we care about your vehicle not being damaged, but filling the pothole first and foremost so there's not a traffic accident. That is what we do. And that's, all highway departments have to grow into that too and understand that's, you're making decisions based on what provides the most efficient roadway possible. You got a microphone from me, so if I can give you a 30-second plug for performance-based pay. 2013, St. Joseph County did a reorganization and I became head of highway department to go along with the highway engineer jobs. 2015, we instituted performance-based pay. Best decision we ever made for the county highway department. Morale went through the roof, retention went through the roof, job performance, quality of product, output of product went through the roof. Thank you.
Thank you for that.
You got my vote.
Debbie, 4-H update.
Oh, pretty good extension, I think.
And I'm solo today. The other two are occupied.
And it's not normal that we're post-fair in our
I
July
know,
meeting, right?
I know, right? There you go, thank you. So speaking with Kelly, she had said, rather than quarterly reports, if we could go to semi-annual, that'd be preferred. So that's totally fine. We're still gonna provide the written document of quarterly reports, just as other correspondence for you moving forward. So this is truly quarterly, even though in person is semi-annual. So just as a reminder, at Purdue Extension, it is our goal and mission to improve lives and livelihoods in the state of Indiana, both at the farm gate and at the town square. So everything in between. I'm going to start with a report from Dana, our Health and Human Sciences Executive Educator. In, I want to say April or May, she held what we call a QTR class. So it's quick something response or question something response. I can't remember the acronym, but basically it's a mental health program to help people understand how to ask those really hard questions that nobody wants to ask. Like, are you thinking about hurting yourself or someone else? Do you have a plan for, ending life? Those kinds of questions that, again, nobody wants to ask. And it's really hard to even get those off of the tongue. But in the class, they actually practice some of those things and talk about some of the implications of asking questions and really being attentive to others. A story that she shared with the rest of our office about the class was that there was a mother and her son who came and they shed tears almost the whole time because grandpa or father, so the mom's dad and the son's grandpa, he is an agricultural producer and they're super worried about him, just closing off, not really sharing how things are going. Everybody knows that things are going bad. And so they came because they just want to find some sort of help for him. And so they feel more equipped now, which is amazing. But farmers are actually 5 times more likely to experience death by suicide than many of the other populations in our community and across really the United States. Stressors are unique. They're uncontrollable. It's the weather. It's, how is the corn growing? All of those kinds of things. And so we have a farm stress team at Purdue Extension, and then this QPR program is a part of that as well. A statistic that she shared at the bottom of that first paragraph, that in our own county, so here in Steuben County, since 2018, 45 people have died by suicide. That's an average of 1 person a month, which is scary. So talking about mental health is healthy, as she would say. She has also partnered a lot with the Fremont Community Outreach Organization, so the food pantry in Fremont. Sometimes they get huge amounts of something really strange and their participants don't grab it, or if they do, they don't know what to do with it, and so it just gets wasted in the back of the pantry. And so her goal in working with those residents in our community is to really showcase, here's how you can use a lentil that nobody wants to eat to make it taste good. And so once a month in our kitchen downstairs, she'll concoct something very unique with whatever ingredient they have a whole bunch of that no one wants. And so she's made some really, really unique things with frozen grapes and fruit cocktail and lentils and things that people are just not used to. And so she's had really good feedback and people have started taking that. A lot of times it's healthy stuff that people just don't know what to do with. So that's been a huge benefit for FICO. Scamming, especially for the elderly in our community and beyond, has become super prevalent. I know that my husband's family has definitely been impacted by this as well. And so she has been presenting a program called Staying Scam Safe. People in our community have lost thousands of dollars because of scams. They think their grandchildren are in trouble and they send money. It's not really their grandchildren. But just trying to help people understand what is factual and what is falsified. For REBA, I just want to announce to you that I think we shared it with the commissioners, but probably not with you yet.
Reba and 2 other educators in the state of Indiana landed a $47,000 grant for risk management specific to cut flower growers. And so I don't know if you visit farmers markets and things, but cut flower farming has become very popular and very profitable. But it comes with risk as well. And so she's helping a lot of cut flower growers around the state of Indiana get rolling on risk management so they have a better understanding of how to handle finances and insurance and liability and all of those kinds of things. So that grant started this month and will continue through October of 2025, I believe. She also hosted a rainscaping program. Some of our programs are regionalized, and so that particular one was held in Albion. They had a need at the public library there, and so they taught people about rainscaping, how to handle shed water, overflows and those kinds of things. And so they actually installed a rainscaping area with residents of Northeast Indiana. Her last point there is about therapeutic horticulture. So she did some professional development on this earlier in the year, and then 50 people at the Heritage Club attended to learn about how they can use gardening as a healthy outlet for themselves. There's a couple other things that she's listed here, like she partnered with the city park for the Adopt a Tree Festival. There were like 100 to 120 people that she impacted with some Purdue publications and things. Moving on to 4-H youth development, we survived. Yes, we did a June fair this year. It was kind of a risk to make that big of a switch for something that's been around for 100 years. And well, I guess 90 actually. We just celebrated 90. But it was super successful. I'm happy to report to you there were some families who, following what feels like a very busy week for our 4-H families, they were like, I'm gonna have to work 3 days next week because we have the holiday. So that was super helpful, and they don't have to rush off to buy school supplies and whisk their kids off to school. So this community event really brings people together. And in addition to that, families are doing more family stuff, it sounds like, this summer. The animals are gone. We're taking July to have some more family time, which is great. So we're excited about that. We were able to partner with the Sheriff's Department, EMS, fire, communications, highway department, health department, different departments within the county to pull off a successful event. Next up, in the 3 photos that you'll see at the bottom of kids with big smiles on their faces and having fun, that is our Northeast Indiana 4-H camp. I serve as director of that and have for the last several years. This was the most challenging one I've ever had because our was through the roof. We had to move boys' cabins 3 times because we expanded so much pre-camp. We had to move them where they were assigned because of expansion and growth, which is exciting. It's a really great way to get kids away from their hometown, experience independence and some self-reliance. Just a cool way to learn some different things that they don't necessarily get to learn in the comforts of home. So that was exciting. The next 2 things there that I want to talk about are the Northeast Indiana Woodworkers Association and Cameron Memorial Hospital. So once a month, we host workshops for kids in our community, any kid, they do not have to be a 4-H kid at all, to learn about a specific area of interest. And so this is our 3rd year in a row to work with the Indiana Woodworkers Association. It is so cool to see kids have power tools in their hands that have never used a power tool before. Because it's like, how do I do this? And what do I do? And oh, I need to tie my hair back. Yes, because we don't want that caught in the drill. Just the little things. Watch your fingers. Be careful with the saw. All those little safety factors that just makes them be attentive to what they're doing and really focus, which is super cool. So we had, let's see, where did I put my number? 102 youth participate in that across 8 counties. We serve as the host county for that, and it's simulcasted. Very similarly, worked with the hospital for another simulcast. This one, I have to tell you, knocked their socks off. We did not tell them that we were going to surprise them with a mock emergency. They just thought they were coming to learn how to do first aid. A couple of us, went in the hallway, bloodied ourselves, and like bones sticking out and all kinds of fun things. And then we just screamed in the hallway. So surprise, we have a medical emergency and now we need your help. And so it was so cool. I have a couple of pictures where kids are like slapping on their gloves and just being at the ready for this medical emergency. And so it was really fun to teach them all of the little aspects that people don't think about. You can't just say call 911. because everybody's gonna think someone else is gonna do it. It's you, call 911. And so we practiced those skills. They got to, apply pressure bandages and all kinds of super fun stuff. So super successful, hilarious, wonderful experience for those kids. There's a list of other things here where we take kids on trips, teach them about welfare, all of those things. We also, as Purdue Extension, were invited to do professional development for a business in our community. So Titan Brooks brought 23 people downstairs one day. We did a half-day professional development with them, which was really exciting and fun. For me, looking ahead, the next 3 big things I have on my schedule are Chef University, which is a cooking class with the YMCA summer camp. Grandparents University, this is brand new to me. Grandparents and their kids are going to be living the dorm life on Purdue's campus here in a couple weeks, and I'm going to go be their professor and teach them about environmental science. And then last year I went to Alaska with a coworker to do summer day camps for Alaskan youth. And I came home and they said, if you could dream big, what would you do? And I said, I'd take kids with me. And so I'm happy to tell you I'm taking 4 teenagers with me to Alaska this summer so they can experience cultural immersion in a completely different community. And they're going to be the teachers. Like, I'm just there to guide them and direct them. So super excited about that. And in addition to that, I'm in communication with the local high school principal. We're going to go tour a high school in this very remote village of Alaska so that our high school kids can see wow, life is really different here than it is for me. We're going to go to the dump. We're going to pressure canner test people's food preservation things while we're there. We're going to the library. We're going to the thrift store and the women's shelter. So we have lots of plans for them so they can really see what a community is like in another part of our country. Yeah. Any questions for me or on behalf of the other 2?
What's the next fair date?
What's that?
The next fair date?
June 20th through 26th. We're staying in June. We felt like we needed to give June a fair shake before we even tried June, but people really liked it. So June 20th through 26th, 2025.
Put it on your calendars.
That's right. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I'll also do an electronic one for commissioners. Perfect. Yep.
Next on the agenda, Angie.
Angie,
Good morning.
I did flip-flop that for them, so their agenda's
So
correct.
theirs is correct.
Yeah.
Okay. So from the 2,000 to the 3,000.
Yeah,
From
I-
microphone to professional services.
Yeah, I had it backwards on the agenda.
I'm using this I've already bought it. It's my new filing cabinets for permanent records of the Jewish Society, a new safe for permanent records, and new folder filing for permanent records. And I can use that all on my clerk's perpetuation. I just need to transfer money from one line to another.
Why is it under professional services?
Because I only have I think there's only 4 lines in there. So everything that comes out of there, professional services, I pay even my shredding out of that. I don't have another line, I can't take it on microphone. I have very limited lines that I can take.
Appropriate to you.
Well, that's the only,
I guess it's a line there, but
that's been, otherwise she's gonna have to do an additional appropriation. Do you have any other place to do an additional appropriation from, or is that your?
Well, and because I don't have my list here to see what I can take out of.
And I'm gonna have Ann look real quick.
I didn't bring that with me.
Yeah, that's okay.
Got microphone, professional services. The print's really small, I can't read.
You need this?
Equipment and things.
Got an extra set.
Yeah, I know, that's what, I take everything out of, yeah. That's the best one, yeah. Right, that's what we
Yeah, that's where, yeah.
2 or 4.
Yeah.
3. But if you don't have any, you feel, state board of council feel about that? It's equipment.
Yeah.
It's not professional services.
We'll just have to.
Unless we
just have to
create a
see.
line item for equipment and then move the funds with.
That's a lot of work right now. I mean, we could do it moving forward.
Yeah.
Because you'd have to create the line, then you'd have to do an additional appropriation.
I just don't want anything to get flagged on an audit.
Yeah.
If the funds are there, that's not the issue.
That's the most appropriate way to do it.
Yeah. We could ask it to fund it with the motion being that we go through the mechanics to follow. I mean, if it's not an
Let me-
issue, if you
let me
guys
ask
mind,
Ann.
then, yeah.
I didn't think it was an issue, but. Well,
That is
okay.
not her lane, right? I mean,
How much is,
if she's all right with it, that's.
We had, you paid for other things out of that line item.
Yeah, that's where pretty much, like, that's what Anna and I were saying, that's where I pay everything on, I mean,
Right there.
like, when we microfilmed, like, 10 years ago, I used microfilm, you know?
Yeah.
And
I'd just like to, when we go through our 2025 budgets, get your funds in the right categories so that you can pull them out of the right spots. That's-
well, and bite my tongue. I didn't think that I was gonna have to pay for this. I thought that this was gonna come out of something with the judicial center.
Right, right.
And now I'm having to figure out how I'm paying for
I
this.
understand.
So that now that's why I'm transferring mine.
Yeah.
Transferring items, yeah.
Yeah, you've not done anything wrong here. I'm just trying to make
I
sure we
do,
got it set
no,
up
yeah,
right.
yeah.
there's a
Yeah.
4,000 line item, if you wanted to,
There is.
have a 4,000 line item.
Is there anything in that 4,000 line item? Okay,
We could transfer.
okay, I'm like, wait, I don't remember, okay,
No,
good.
transfer.
No, this, I'm totally fine doing it however you guys wanna
So
do
what's
it.
the fourth?
What is the fourth item called?
It's just machine equipment repair remodel.
I mean, that's usually where these things are paid for, 4,000s.
Yeah.
And it's,
It's just not really utilized.
it doesn't have any funds in it.
There's nothing appropriated. The fund has sufficient.
Yeah.
So instead of transferring it to 3,001, we can transfer it to 4,000, not 15, if you want.
And then what do you call it?
Well, it's already set up.
It's already there.
Is what it, oh, so it must just not be on my,
It's just not one you have ever utilized.
Okay. okay.
I moved to approve the transfer coming from the 4,000 category.
Second.
We're taking it from two
Going
to four.
To 4,000,
Yeah.
right? From 2,000 to 4,000.15, is that what you said?
You got a motion and a second from Rick. Is that gonna impact you at all? I mean, you still have sufficient funds to,
I mean, there's nothing.
There's,
I'm gonna read on. Something specific.
we can modify the paperwork, TNG too, and change the
Yes,
copy of it. Does that work?
yeah, that's absolutely fine. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of money in there, just.
potentially save a red flag later.
Yes, that's fine. Good.
Any further discussion? Comments, questions?
Did you vote?
So when I was, this is not just about her, but this is about what just happened here. When we were at the AIC conference, we sat with several council members who said that one of the reports that they get every month with their packet is that monthly department report. So when anyone is coming and asking for moving or this or that, you can flip through your packet and look exactly what was appropriated, where they're at, what's left. It's a great way to watch if there's ever somebody going through a line item too fast, or it was just something that like this, then we would have all been able to see the same thing that we did. Does that make sense? It was just something great. I was going to share it later that I learned at AIC. I know you're so excited I go, Kelly.
I am very excited to know this, Tina. No, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, we're gonna call it down. All those in favor, raise your right hand.
Yes.
7.
Okay, thank you guys very much.
Thanks,
Steve. Thank you.
16. Alicia. How are you?
Doing wonderful. Okay, so I have 2 items on the agenda. They're not named, so I'm just gonna go over them briefly so you can understand what we're appropriating money for. Fund 8100, which I love that phone number. I never get anything that nice when it comes to a phone number. That is our DSC immunization grant. This is the one that we've never attended to before. It's kind of an institutional grant that's offered through the CDC, the local health departments. This is the one where I requested $79,708 and they threw in an extra $20,000 on top of it for equipment purchase, kind of just, if we can use this money for equipment purchase, please accept it. So we're now gonna be going for $99,708, which them offering additional money is very, very rare. So we will use that. So the appropriation is for $99,708. If you look, I use the new fund appropriation sheet, you'll see all the line items that we have set up. The one that was just previously mentioned, the 4,000.15, you'll see that it's $38,200. That is for us to replace some of our vaccine storage equipment, so vaccine fridges, vaccine freezers. Those things are $1 because of the standards that we have to keep to hold them. Previously, that was 18,000, now it's 38,000. I just wanted to reflect that in the paperwork.
Wanna talk about these both together then?
If you would like, absolutely. If it keeps it.
Sure.
The second one is 8112, that is our preparedness grant. We have done this will be our 10th season. It's a concurrent grant, so it starts July 1 and goes until June 30. Preparedness is not as up to speed as an immunization program is at the state, so I actually haven't signed contract, but they did tell us we did receive the award. They're just waiting on the legal contract to be sent to us. And that is for $24,438.10. And that does include one position that is part-time staff.
So this far into the Indiana program, how are you feeling about it so far?
Good. With the first year, any major change, there are some hiccups and speed bumps that the state is working through, especially with reporting metrics and how they want to see that information done. The way that the state legislation was written was clear enough in certain aspects, but vague on how often, in what quantity, and I would say certain metrics that they were really looking for, but they didn't specify. So now the state is trying to assist legislators with pulling that data from the local level and getting it into a format that is seamless across the state. Because somebody in Adams County might report certain things differently than what Steuben County, because we're still home rule. So we do things all a little bit differently. But it's getting those metrics that actually show what we are working on and what all of our efforts are going through. So for instance, we're working on naloxone, getting it out to different area communities like Orland or Fremont or Clear Lake. And somebody in another county might be purchasing nalox boxes, which are what they're housed in, and actually cementing them on the wall. So it's a different way of attempting the same thing, getting the drug that it has a standing order in Steuben County and across the state, across the different ways. So it is a little bit hard. Those are some of the kind of speed bumps that we're trying to work through with the state. But overall, the funding is going well. Our staff are really taking on board, the new activities that we're doing. Our STI clinic, we actually have a interview for a nurse later today. Hopefully it works out because we've already started publicizing, and I know there's quite a few different organizations that have been spreading the word that we have these services available. I think when we attended Pride, we had over 10 requests of testing on site and also to come into the department, which for the first time we talked about it, that's a pretty big deal. That's really nice to see. Some of the other stuff we're working on, as with the first year, some setbacks moving forward, trying to do these things, but for year two, I'm pretty excited. There's gonna be more to come.
Be a little ways down the road yet before we as a county or the state in general can really point to the results of all this investment, right?
Yeah, and I mean, for the most part, they're even working on redoing some of the metrics that are displayed on the county dashboard. They just released the smoking during pregnancy metric. They've updated the algorithm on that. So what we saw originally in January might not be the same that you see in July or August. And so now we're trying to go, okay, well, we thought we were the worst in the state. I'm not saying that for Steuben County at all, but just hypothetically. And now we are in the mid top end based on how that algorithm changed. So as they're pulling that information in, the situation changes and we're looking to see what we really need to be working on. And we're working with our local partners, the hospital, Trine University, Faith Community Outreach. I mean, we're doing everything that we should be doing right now, but it's kind of, we're chugging along and kind of like making a way at where we are finding the issues right now. Yeah.
To piggyback that was my question. How are those relationships? Because I know part of the state's request is to collaborate with other already existing ventures in the area. So how is that relationship going, building and helping fund and helping, how's that?
We identified 3 partners that were really in need of support funding. One of those being Well Child, Faith Community Health Clinic, and then another nonprofit that we're actually, we ceased working with just because we weren't on the same page. No funds were dispersed on a third partner, but for Well Child, we set up a feeder fund, which is where we help support what they're already doing. So we're not asking them to do something new. We're not duplicating services. They've been able to help, I think, around 20 to 25 children with pediatric hygiene appointments for dental, and then also getting them into local dentists to get fillings or tooth pulls, whatever they need. And so that is a direct correlation to what they were already doing, and we're just helping financially support their mission already. The other partner that we're working really well with is Faith Community Health Clinic. They have an amazing setup right down the street here, and one of the things that they really wanted to do was get some new equipment that is more pricey than they were willing to spend. And so we were able to help fund those purchases for them, and also just some basic clinic updates, some new furniture, new desks, because the stuff that they've been using was donated, and they need easily cleanable surfaces. They need stuff that can be sanitized easily. So those kind of common purchases were what we were able to help them with, so they could actually spend their money on other matters that they usually see a shortfall in. So those 2 partnerships are going very well. And those that receive direct funding from the health department, from HFI. When we're talking about other general partnerships, we offer other things that are not funding direct, but we're either giving equipment, supplies, or just support from our staff. So that might be related to Cameron Hospital, working on initiatives together. Fremont Youth Community Outreach, if I said that correctly, is an acronym. We go to their food pantry days, and we also provide vaccinations, naloxone, harm reduction kits, because that area is underserved. And then we also are working with Trine University on their Back to School, Take Back the Night, which is related to sexual assault awareness. We brought our STI information out to that event. So there's some condoms and other stuff that went as well. And we're also doing their back to school events. So we're working with MSD, we're working with Fremont schools. I mean, if you ask me about a partner, we're trying to work with every single one of these.
No, the biggest thing to just piggyback the comment was some counties are using those funding to build their office bigger to be able to do outreach more themselves. And I don't think that's the state's desire. It's not to grow government, it's to help other areas that are already doing that
Correct.
be able to be more efficient. And that's what I commend you on is that you're doing it the right way.
So we looked at it conservatively and we took one part-time employee to a full-time status. So we did increase hours that this individual worked, but it was a medical professional. So it was a nurse that is doing the same exact thing, we just broadened the scope. We had one more environmental health specialist because we're hoping to bring on a pool program because water transmits a lot of nasty stuff when you're swimming in it. But we've been very conservative in looking at what we can do, how we can reorganize our programs, how we can actually be more efficient. And that includes going online, and payments. You've already heard it from me before, but I just want to reiterate, we're trying to make it more efficient and straightforward as possible for customers and clients that we see. Sorry, I know that was a long response.
So what's the timing on reimbursement?
For this?
Yeah.
If I would be conservative, net 60. For reimbursements from the state, once I request it, they say net 90, but they're trying to improve their whole return process. Immunizations is quite a bit quicker because they know if we are doing a lease or we're purchasing equipment that's not something the county line to be in a negative for, they're trying to get it around net 30.
Okay, yeah,
Make a motion to approve.
is that for both?
I'll second.
Both in the 100s, so they can work together. Further comments, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. 7. Thank you.
I love hearing the excitement in your voice as you talk about all these outreach things. It's obvious that you're in the right element right there.
I really, a little too much sometimes, but yes.
Thank you. The next two items on the agenda for EMS and for communications are appropriation of the funds as per the decisions we already made. Lit.
And put together a nice spreadsheet for you guys.
I had a question on that.
Okay.
The initial, you sent me, I believe, had both sides of that balancing. And then the last spreadsheet you sent, which we're trying to find, there was about a $6,000 difference on each one.
Did we just have one? We don't have these spreadsheets. Oh, you do?
Let's start right here. Yes.
That's the most current one. Okay. Did you repeat that for Dan? He's got it.
Yeah, basically, total being pulled from general. 147, 474. To let PSAP 153, 731. I was just trying to find out where that difference was. And I see it's telecom assistant director. Apparently, there's little differences in some of the other ones, so,
Right, so this ended up starting later than June 1st,
okay,
so that's why.
okay,
And then these are gonna be higher because 3%, that's agreed because of salary positions. And then we just kind of want to look at that.
okay,
Not exactly sure,
okay.
just kind of an estimate. So that's why those are different, they're just more updated numbers. So it started later.
Gotcha,
to June
okay.
1st.
Everybody understand that? So we'll take these independently. You have questions about the mechanics of this, what we're doing here? Sort of formalized discussion and vote previously, but. There are, welcome motion.
Make that motion.
Great.
Motion was on all four of the appropriations.
Just
Sheriff Communications.
1235.
Yeah, Fund 1235.
Anybody second that, Lisa? Discussion? None, all those in favor, raise your right hand. We have Jason's EMS side of things at 1236.
Both.
Right.
I said that leaves room in both, right? Because this comes in, this is.
On that,
I will make a motion to appropriate from 1236 and move to the new EMS lit fund. That's all the same lit fund, isn't it?
uh, 1236 is a new fund.
Yeah.
Second to that. Second it. Bill? Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, raise your right hand. 7. Okay. So auditor's office, do their work. Before we get into other business, if you wouldn't mind, Commissioner Howard, can we get an update on something?
Am I fine from back here?
With the YouTube, as long as it's picking you up.
We'll try and see what happens. The first item, I know that I'm interested in having a ARPA fund meeting. So I'd like to see if the council would discuss and determine a date that's available for all of us, since there's 2 of us here at least.
So what makes sense when they're already gathered together? You want to tie it into end of a commissioners meeting someday or?
End of the commissioners meeting or end of council meeting typically, or before, it's fine also.
Yeah,
The next commissioners meeting is next Monday, the 15th. Is that enough time to get things?
I don't need 48-hour notice.
Schedule that.
does that work for
That would be,
anybody involved in that committee
for the commissioners meeting, it'd have to be prior to
prior to?
Prior to.
So 8 o'clock?
8 o'clock, yes.
Bill says no, that won't work for him.
Doesn't work.
15th does not work for me.
Okay. Next commissioner meeting, the 29th, is that right?
No.
Oh, it moves into the, yeah, because that's a three Monday month, yeah.
However, the 22nd or the 29th, we can meet.
Just me, just for that.
Just meet for that, half hour, whatever.
Can you use that?
Yeah, that would be fine.
22nd or 29th.
Of July.
You, Bill?
Monday, July 22nd will be just fine.
Okay. All right,
And or the 9 o'clock.
29, both are good for me.
your pick.
Do 8.
22nd.
22nd at 8 o'clock.
8 AM.
If you could send out a reminder to everyone.
Yes, that good. You know,
Okay.
Don't really have much else. I mean, we had the dedication for the Judicial Center. Fantastic. Thanks to everyone who participated.
It's very exciting.
It was very humbling.
Things flowing well over there now.
Yeah, we're working through some things, but yeah, everything's going well, I believe. I think I see a lot of smiles on faces when we walk through there, so it's kind of nice.
And the segue with the ARPA is it's just discussion in next month about the revenue replacement funds needing to roll in over the next 2 budget cycles. So be discussing everybody's ideas and options on what it looks like just in our budget. Thinking caps on there. We've got about 900,000 per year roll in.
Slightly more than that, yes.
So there's lots of needs, lots of places that we can utilize that, and we'll need to utilize that. But we've heard from Peter's municipal consultants, a couple of funds that are stressed going forward. So yeah, just lots of time to think about it between now and then, but
Is that 2 years, 1 year and the year after?
we have to,
It'll roll in, so it'll roll in in
25 and
25 and then
26.
it'll roll in in 26.
but we have to have what's gonna happen in 26 decided in 25. Is that right?
you're gonna have it all decided by January 1 of 25.
Yeah, so by the end of this year, through these budgets,
What we'll do when that.
we'll probably just get it all sorted out in this budget. Next 2 years.
There's nothing that says you can't move it later, but it has to be, you gotta find a home for it before the end of the year. And then spend it before December 31st of 26, or it goes back.
Okay,
When will we get those beautiful binders from you?
Oh, Christina. We aren't even live yet on Lao.
Oh, my.
We're having to do both.
Both.
It'll be a while. It'll be a while yet.
Sorry, we just talked about budgets. I got excited. I'll actually know what to do and not cry when I take it home this year.
And you'll be doing better than me. Because I will hopefully be crying still.
We're gonna do electronic version first.
Oh.
Sure.
On the packet,
Yes.
I can send you-
On the budget.
on the budget. Send you an electronic version if you want. I'm still gonna give you one in paper.
give me paper.
No, but having both is great.
It's hard to make
I'll
notes
send
on
them
the
both.
computer
We
screen.
can send them both ways.
It can be done.
Put your tab.
While we've got you on the line then, just
Oh,
Digital here.
yes, I need.
when's the timing for the, we talked last month about the timing for the funding for the bike trail and whether we want to absorb that all in 1 year or utilize any of the other levers that we can pull, like public works bond or something like that. So when does that?
Do you want me to get the instructions? Are you ready for me to move forward on a public works fund? You'll find the information. You just have to tell me to go.
Jeff said it's a pretty efficient process. I'm just asking generally like when, well, asking specifically when do we move those funds for that we committed, 800,000?
No, I'll have to go through that whole scenario. Frame
I mean,
first.
we haven't decided if we want to do that for that. I just would like to know what the timeline would look like if we did.
But I'm not gonna know the timeline until I know the exact process. So once I know exactly what I have to do and the timeline that I have to possibly get one done for you, then I will be able to tell you, okay, this is what I gotta do. Here's when you can move it.
Is there still that much?
Just try to find that out. then.
Okay, yep.
Thank you.
But the balance of it.
And are you looking at more than one or just one? Because you're talking about the money for the trails. I didn't know about the jail growth.
I don't know. I mean, it's gonna be a discussion, but let's at least figure out what the process timeline is.
Yeah, you're gonna be late on the jail roof.
Late.
They're actually gonna try and start construction Monday. Not you're late, we are. Go with that, sorry.
In the future, I mean, when we look at things like radios and things like that, just who knows what we might need.
Well, once I do one, I'll know how to do it then,
Yeah.
hopefully. So, all right, I will get a time frame on
Awesome.
that.
Thank you. Okay, we can roll into other business. So got the additional appropriation resolution 07-2024-01. It's got everything that was in your agenda today. Don't believe we didn't make any dollar amount changes or corrections.
There's 2 reductions in there.
We didn't talk about JDAI.
Yes, that's right. That didn't fall in here, but it was in our packet. So she,
Same thing as when she reduced the last time.
No, this is, they decided not to move forward with a grant right here. Yeah, I have it under other business number 4.
it's done.
Yeah.
So we should
You want to-
vote on that before we do the resolution.
That's fine.
And it was in your packet.
So you're reducing all those numbers.
Yeah.
For that.
The total reduction, $20,000.
Yep.
Move to approve the reduction.
Good.
Didn't you do a reduction last year too?
Yes.
Where she came
Yes.
in and she did a reduction last year.
Because she didn't want to apply for all of it, just part of it. Because she wasn't sure she wanted that much government involvement. If I'm not mistaken.
She didn't know what strings were attached.
Correct.
Is that what this has to do with too? It
It
seems.
decided not to pursue the grant. That's all I received. I don't have any other additional specifics from her.
Seems crazy to,
It's for
capturing back some of our tax money.
juvenile
and giving it
program
back.
planning. Whether she can feel that she had the staff to implement all that planning. I don't put words in her mouth, but I don't know.
Because if you do those grants, you have to implement them and get them utilized, otherwise you send it back in.
Almost think this has to do with not having enough people that would take in juveniles in need of some sort of other supervision.
I don't know. I can't speak to it.
It was really good.
We got a motion and a second. Reduced by $20,000. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, now for the additional appropriation resolution. Aforementioned. Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve. Second.
Gail? Anything further on that? All those in favor, raise your right hand. You. Next, you've got your health claims transfer, $60,711.89. It's a little more sense now after last month's.
I was gonna say, it's really low after last month's.
Just getting all warm and fuzzy inside looking at that.
It felt good to see that dollar amount.
Blame Ruth.
I'll second it.
Christina? All those in favor, raise your right hand. 7. December meeting minutes. Official approval.
I went through that thing with a fine tooth comb, so I don't.
Sorry about that.
I changed the wording for you, Rick. I went through and I looked at it, so I changed it to,
Did change.
I did change it.
After I read it again, I
That's
thought,
fine.
no, that's right.
Nope, I changed it to one word. He took this whole thing in one word. Giving him fits. I
I just
said,
wanted you to know I read it.
Ms. Walsh indicated that the health department believes excluding the health department employees from the salary matrix is the best option. I changed it to believes.
Thank you.
You want.
The way I read it, I didn't like it. Because I left it over. I read it the second time and it's like, okay, that's right. Then I read it again, no. I read it like 3 times.
I just changed it completely.
I feel better.
I'd like to make you happy.
Very well.
It's all about you, Rick.
I got
So-
stressed just rereading it.
Just rereading it.
Oh, my
So would you
gosh.
care to make a motion to approve?
I'd make a motion to approve, yes.
Thank you, Rick.
You have no idea how happy I am. This thing is
Yeah.
off my desk.
How about? Have a second?
I'll second.
Bill? Any further comments on the meeting minutes?
That was my last official one as president.
Okay, all those in favor, raise your right hand. 7-0. You can put that one to bed, Kelly.
I'm gonna lock the door behind it.
So we got number 5 handled there on the business. I am adding number 6, just make sure you have your budget calendar handy. Everybody know the dates. If they have any conflicts, issues. Move forward with that August 20th budget hearing negotiating of the.
I don't remember.
You're not president anymore. so-
August 20th.
Yeah, good, good.
8 a.m.
What's that?
This is August 20th, starts at 8.
I gotta get a hold of George Helton, but I will be setting up a meeting with him as well.
That's
From the
first
DLGF.
meeting, August
So,
20th.
20th.
Okay, that's a-
before the end of the month, the girls and I will be going to that as well.
Right.
and then you're gonna have that Darren to give a about reports.
Yeah, they're working on some stuff right now.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
All
So a reminder on there about that.
Yep.
And then September
Regarding department head updates,
5th and 6th.
we're gonna be skipping that. Going through budgets, but maybe we can revisit 1 or 2 of those towards the end of the year. I've appreciated having those. There's different departments you want to hear from. Last month we had the Veterans Office and today we had Purdue Extension Office, but we'll put those on hold in our agendas. But,
Unless they have a major change.
oh, sure, they can always come to
Then they
us,
can
yeah.
come to us
This is
with
just a
everything.
courtesy update otherwise.
Question on this.
Yes.
I was gonna ask you anyway. When we do leave in August, some of the department heads were wanting to come in and present to you. Are you willing to do that or?
Yes, council, how do you want to structure that this year? As far as the hearings go?
If I can state that because of the short timeline on their response time, I can tell you, like, the highway department has asked if they can come in during the time they review their budget and just let them know the day when you hear. But he would love to be able to explain if there's any questions, not to slow it down, but there's several that
I think
have
there's-
said that very
There's
thing.
several
So
department heads that would love to. just
not
come
to slow
with-
the process down, but we're gonna have questions and without the time to really review with the liaisons as much as they have in the past.
In the past, way back, we used to just schedule them automatically, come in and present, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say, for those that have been sitting here that long, we had, we scheduled every department head to come through our door. We give them 5-10 minutes, whatever, march through here and kind of go through the budget just real quick. Our August 20th meeting. really not a good time for us to ask questions because basically the first time seeing their budget, but at least have a chance to look at it. And if there was anything that stood out, we could ask them a question at that point and give them a chance to present it. Other than that, then we went back through and in our September meetings and took a deep dive into it.
I liked the ones that came last year during the budget hearings when we were really sinking our teeth in. Especially when they had like little red pages.
Primarily to ask questions though,
Yes,
to answer questions that you have, not necessarily to hash over their entire budget.
correct.
Obviously, some departments are a lot more complicated than others.
And some department heads turn the same budget every year, so, why make them break in front of us?
So we just gave them the option really, and they just kept dwindling which ones really want to come through the door. That's it. I
Bill, you got
never,
any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so I'm just going back to some old school back in the day is we would get an email asking, do you want to come and present? We'd RSVP our spot. The agenda at that time was formed off the RSVP sent back. I think that same theory can apply. Send it out to the departments, elected official offices and see who wants to come. And then we can set the timeline off of that in the morning to listen to them. That's my thought.
you're talking mainly our August 20th meeting though?
Yes.
The initial one.
I'm only talking the August 20th meeting.
We get into this September's sessions and we just call them for the questions.
Yeah.
I think based on the fact that we've had comments made that they'd like to do that, we could extend that offer out.
The department head wishes.
Let's build a
It's
timeline
always kind of been the
for that.
offer, but some of them.
Give them the
some of them
opportunity.
One comment.
Should have one more, Bill.
Because there's.
Lisa's not paying attention, sorry.
Because it doesn't change.
All right,
See you in a minute.
everybody's amenable to that. I just, I say we move forward with that. Ruth, you like it?
I like it. It's at least we can do listen to.
Yep.
Not certain instances that are changing or there's a reason for
It
it.
can make a longer day, but it saves you some backtracking later, maybe.
I'll get it this time.
You just gonna try to give them 5-10 minutes or limit them or not limit them or?
I hate to say that because like I said, some of them are pretty complex, like what their reasoning and their budgets are, it might take more definition. But overall, I said, send a message to just give a summary of your budget or present anything that's outstanding or different than normal.
Why don't you ask them if they would provide us a time frame on their summary? So you need 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes?
I can ask for a summary also. I will tell you, it is going, and that's why I asked to get them in here. But if y'all start asking a lot of questions, we're gonna be here all day and that's not what that meeting's for. I'm just
Well, it
saying.
takes all day without it, so
Yeah.
it's a big day.
So that's not what it's for, it's to hear the
It's to
budget.
hear.
You can go through everything and, I mean, yeah, you can ask questions, but don't deep dive, please.
Yeah, don't start off on,
It's not the budget hearings.
you want to get the overview of what we need to tackle later.
Oh, that's September 4th.
That's what you got, September 4th. Thank you, Bill.
I didn't talk much less August. Talked a lot in September.
I'm not picking on you, Christina, you just happen to be in my line of view.
All right,
I could look all the way down the line.
great, yeah.
Not leaving anybody out.
Okay, email correspondence, you got the soil and water board meeting minutes emailed to you. Excise and wheel tax distribution, numbers look very steady. 171, 793. 710, the July board meeting.
So
We're not to 710 yet.
that's tomorrow.
The agenda was emailed.
Yeah.
Coroner's month-end report.
Yeah.
Budget calendar.
That might have been a separate email.
About this.
I think it says.
No, I said you just go to this. I just asked you personally. You go to all those meetings.
And lastly,
I try to get to them and they.
raise your hand if you were down at AIC. You call me. Any comments?
And if you're sure.
So
I'll defer to my colleague.
No, it was really good. I thought it was really, really good. One of the things that we're really going to have to be active, I think one of the biggest things that made me hold my breath is not only at the state convention, but again at AIC, the state has shown up and really wants to talk about property tax, which I feel like is not their lane, but that conversation's coming. We're really going to have to pay attention to what they try to change. They feel like they need to step in and they feel like didn't you take that from the panel?
Yes, very
So they're
much
doing
so.
total tax reform discussion in this two-year session, right?
They are going to discuss total tax reform. And everybody wants to get away from the property tax. I mean, that was even one of their platforms for the governor's race to do away with property tax. So,
Not his, but
no.
Sue's.
Yeah.
Get away from it entirely or just reduce the,
There's a big push to do something different, but I don't know where to go. They push it all to income tax. We're behind the eight ball as a county because we don't have the manufacturing some of these other counties do that have the amount of people. That's why we always stay toward the property tax.
We're already some of the lowest in the country.
we have an extraordinarily high assessed value rate in this county.
Yes. Yes. So that,
Or not rate, but assessed value.
yes, I would like to pick a couple of dates in August that I could throw out. I met Representative Bressler. Is it Bressler or Bressler? Talking about reform that is coming. He is leading from the House of Reps in reference to highway funding. And he gave me his phone number and he said he was willing to come. They're meeting today in DeKalb County, but we didn't know if that would work with today's meeting. But he said he would come and sit and listen to our needs.
We're directly plugged in through Tony here, so I think our concerns for Steuben County need to be, we need to unify them and then let someone carry them forward.
So do you not want to try to do a local meeting?
I'll defer to you on that, Tony.
I think more knowledge, the better. So I would encourage that. I mean, I would encourage that. I had requested roads as well as utilities, and I was told to pick one.
Okay.
So I obviously picked one I thought was a bigger need in our community.
Which one that is.
Right, utilities. That said, I do have, so I was, back to the property tax. I was told, just last week, I met with some future workmates, potentially. Gotta be careful here, don't. That said, I was told that there is a win that they are working towards to reduce property taxes. That's most likely going to happen. I put my council hat on and I said, look, you just can't do that. There was a big smirk on a face and was told that you're going to be conflicted because now you're working on the other side of that fence. And I'm like, well, here's the deal. We don't have the money. Like, we're already, we're not lavish in funds. We're not a local municipality that can just raise taxes because
We're not getting
people expect-
refunds.
Right. So because there's about a $2 million shortfall with Medicare, the big issue, there's going to have to be some reduction in costs, but then they also are saying on this side, they also want to reduce taxes. So the big push is property tax to come down. So there's going to be.
So what's the other side of the teeter totter? The income tax?
Yes, it looks like income tax. But there's.
Because sales tax was in the discussion too.
Yeah. So it just, I can't speak 100% because I'm not down there, right? I mean, I'm not there yet, but I can tell you that I was told that I was going to be specifically conflicted with a little chuckle because I've been sitting on this side now and I'm going to be on that side. I'm like, look, this is my connection to the community, understanding that. So,
Well, to get there, sometimes you can plug in something else that would solve it in another way, like gas tax reformulation, the other ways we get reimbursed. So you can say, look, we've got to balance it out for our
I've
county.
also been told that there's potential for, I believe it's a local sales tax being bantered around. So there's another lever there that they are willing to maybe discuss, right? So I'm just,
But everything in those levers, from everyone I talked to down there, all comes down to population. It's gonna cut our legs out from underneath us in Steuben County.
I will tell you that I will work and fight as hard as I can.
Take those numbers from June and get it considered an annualized population.
I think that's a great idea. I was told that I'm allowed to present up to 10 bills a year. And I'm
Got
like,
100 written already?
no, the anxiety level just shot up through my head. And I was like, oh my God, my blood pressure's shooting up like you saw today. So, yes, so there you go.
We'll come down and help testify.
Thanks, Gary. Appreciate it.
Well, that's hugely important discussion. So thank you all for your thoughts on that. Anything else from takeaways from the conference?
I did speak also with Senator Travis Holman, which was on that panel of discussions. He was the other member. I did go out and talk to him after the meeting specifically because he does sit on some of those committees that could help us with our energy issues. He did offer up finally his contact information. I have not reached out since, trying to figure out what information that he would like from us to help, or whether we can actually get him here. So
our other direct connection is Rick's involvement with AIC level, and where's AIC going to take a stand on this? And they need to hear how these things are in discussion right now will impact us.
And you know Councilman Loggeman pretty well, right? He believed that he had a insight into how he might be helpful with how to use that guy right there to help us with the IURC.
It would be really beneficial to invite him to a coffee.
Councilman Loggeman,
Talk to him because
he's sit on
Yes.
a lot of the committees, and I think he's helped with a lot of campaigns.
Yep.
He's very well.
And he likes to, my husband, we were with him till 2 a.m.
I know.
Yeah,
There's so much information, so much information.
So that said, if you would like Travis Holman, like me to reach out to anybody and personally ask for to come up.
He's only from Wells. He's not that far away.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've got his contact. I've been networking. Like I sat down with Judy the other day for 2.5 hours, having coffee, just having conversation about expectations and needs from our district, just trying to create. You can't work in a silo. You have to network, you have to collaborate. So
do we want to try for a date in August to have Representative Wrestler here about roads? He suggested council, commissioners, and county highway.
It's roads. I think that question goes to the commissioners.
What do you think? Do you want to try to have him here? I figure put a face, put a name to what we need in this county is the only way that we stand out, is my thought process. But if I overstepped, I didn't mean to. I just charged the podium.
This is some of
Give me your number.
Should have had it probably copied off and handed everybody one of these.
Dan, just the last comment. I just think that we can't work in a silo. So having more people that can have a say in what's going on, come and see our situation, our issues. I will tell you, the speaker was very engaged when he went up to Cardinal to have that conversation. And he was correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like it was a very informative, very helpful, there was tons of notes being taken. I mean, his assistant was writing down everything down. I mean, that's how you move the meeting, right? You have to be loud enough so that everybody can hear what's going on and hear you, so they can understand the narratives, right? I mean, So I would, the more the merrier, in my opinion, right? I mean, if we have time to,
I totally agree. I mean, this stuff is so intertwined between the two bodies, and we go to these things and we hear and we know it's gonna come down to us and impact us. But I think thank you for making that connection, but if you would work with them to get it scheduled, and then we'll all just hold in from there. Is that all right, commissioners?
Information is better.
Okay,
Perfect.
cool. Thank you.
And then my only other thing is, how difficult is that report to pull? Because you sent it
We're
to
still
the
already
department.
in here.
Yeah, I saw.
We just didn't have to use in here. So we can pull them.
I'll also have Ann run this off. This is every county council member in the state. We're the largest body and the least represented. We gotta change that.
Going all over the auditors right now. That is a huge topic of discussion on how many council members don't attend.
So,
Huge topic.
This is just who attended.
well, maybe that's just
I was
easier.
like, that isn't long enough.
That isn't long enough.
That's everyone who attended the AFC conference.
We're still recording, so
Yep.
one at a
Yep.
time, please.
Oh, sorry.
Our auditor's office needs to know who all is going to Switzerland in September.
So if you
Switzerland
don't,
County.
Switzerland County.
I'm sending an email out. Please respond to the email to Abby so she can get reservations made. If you've already responded, thank you.
We'll talk about it. So
I gotta get permission to be off of work.
September 23rd to the 26th, in about the furthest place in the state from us as you can get. Kind of. Always an extremely beneficial thing to attend.
That's all I have.
Anything else, Auditor? You good?
No, you're good?
Anybody else? Anything come before council?
Tomorrow night, active shooter training,
Yes,
from
thank you.
5 o'clock.
Depending on some family health issues, I may or may not be going with Councilman Harder very early tomorrow morning
Oh,
to
boy.
ESID training, public safety training. So, Lee invited us to get signed. Did you do your pretest?
No, I have to do that too.
So, yeah, anything else? If not, we'll welcome a motion to adjourn.
I will make that motion.
Okay.
Thank you. Meeting adjourned.
The last two have been.
Quicker than normal.